My heart is beating so fast, I can hear it. This can't be true. I've ruined my life. All my plans, all the time invested. Yesterday was so different.
And I took the test. I just remember sitting on the toilet and I was, praying that I just wasn't, and I was begging. I was like, oh my God, I was scared. My heart was beating really, really fast. And when I pulled that test out, it read positive. There was two bold lines there. It was quite clear that I was. I remember in that moment I just started bawling. I couldn't fathom what I was seeing. I didn't know what to think or what to feel. I just remember feeling so confused and scared. I took the test, I put it in my bag, and I tried to dry my tears before leaving that washroom, and I marched out of the Walmart and I basically cried all the way home. I just remember thinking to myself, how am I gonna tell my mom? How am I gonna tell my family? How am I going to even tell this guy? At the time, obviously I was so young, I didn't know what love was, but I knew for sure I did not love this guy. I knew that he was
my abortion was scheduled for the 29th of May. Yeah, so the day comes, and we get to the clinic, and I made sure that it was first thing in the morning because I heard about, pro-life protesters, and I was not strong enough to deal with someone screaming in my face that I'm a sinner and I'm going to hell and I'm a murderer, because I have decided to get rid of a cluster of cells that was growing in my body.
The face already has features distinguishable from other babies at the same age. And every day, new features appear that will make this baby's face unique from any other face ever in the history of faces. At 9 weeks, our baby learns 4 of the most important things we do our entire lives: sleep, wake up, stretch, and suck our thumbs. Well, maybe 3 things we do our entire lives.
I just didn't think that it would happen to me. I don't know why. I was on and off birth control and then back on. I was taught in school to be responsible. And, so what I knew of sex was what I was taught in school. My parents didn't really talk about it.
In the 10th week, some babies get a kick from using the womb like a trampoline. While others the same age just shrug their shoulders.
In my mind, her pregnancy was like a disease that needed to be cured. So she asked Nikki if she wanted to go through abortion. And I think I was coming across as, yes, please, give her something, do something, cure this. She's only 17, she couldn't even keep her room clean. How was she gonna raise a child on her own?
And baby's mouth can even open to practice saying, ah, once the itch is gone.
My eyes out. I was just crying because I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I wanted to please him at the same time. I wanted him to love me at the same time, and I knew he told me, this is how I knew, is because he told me that had I kept a child, he wouldn't have nothing to do with me. It was over. There was nothing. And so I'm like, so I'm just bawling my eyes out, and I go knock on this place because I wanted somebody to talk me out of it.
It's probably just coincidence that this is the same time that baby learns to kick, bend, twist, turn the head, make a fist, and punch.
Of course, it's not a baby. It's not going to hurt. It's not a baby. It's not going to hurt it because it's a sack of tissue. It's not going to hurt a sack of tissue. It's not even a baby. And I would say that, and I really believe that. And I actually thought I was helping these women.
At 13 weeks, sex organs are more apparent. So is bone structure. And vocal cords are close to fully formed, ready to shout out with the first breath of fresh air.
Nauseous. Okay, I need to figure this out. What am I gonna do? And so I decided, okay, I talked to him, and he basically talked me into having an abortion. And so I went online and I looked up abortion clinics in Toronto.
Around 4 months, baby can grasp with hands, swim, turn somersaults, and frown.
Sex wasn't openly discussed in my house. My mum didn't really want to think that me and my twin sister were doing it.
So did you know about contraception?
Yeah, I mean, I did, but we were taught abstinence. Being at a Catholic school, we were just told not to do it. And there was a little bit of discussion around other options if you really felt the need that you had to have sex, but there wasn't a lot. So I just relied on my boyfriend at the time, because if I had told my mother, I would have got punished.
You say you relied on your boyfriend. Was your boyfriend using contraception?
Well, he really told me he didn't think he could have children. So being 15 at the time, I took his word, and we did use contraception, but it was on and off, and there was a lot of the pull-out method type of thing. Think you can't get pregnant from that.
So were you determined not to terminate pregnancy from the beginning?
I actually had a lot of people wanting me, the closest people to me wanting me to terminate the pregnancy.
So there was a lot of pressure?
Yeah, absolutely. There was my mum, everyone was telling me, you will not even graduate year 10, you've ruined your life, because that's what they really believed, I guess.
You found a text that your mum had sent a friend of hers about your pregnancy. What did it say?
She was hoping that God would change the situation, and I suppose that means that I had a miscarriage, or that I changed my mind and that I would terminate my pregnancy. She didn't say that in spite, she said that out of shock, and she said that out of disbelief.
That the mouth is going to be a big deal. Thumb sucking and finger licking becomes serious business. And baby even seems to know that being able to open the mouth will be a useful skill one day.
But at that gestational age, the fetus is about 8 inches from the top of its head to its buttocks. It has a beating heart, fingers, toes, and it can make spontaneous movements.
At this point, does it have like all of its organs and all of that stuff? Like, is it already fully
It's not
developed?
fully developed. Okay. It doesn't even look like a baby yet.
It doesn't?
Technically, it has its organs. It has parts, like we all have parts, but it's not done.
So, like, does it have a face or like all of that stuff? Or?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it has with
Eye teeth are present. And so are eyes. Eyelids do a lot of blinking, even though there's nothing to see.
Open, as if this baby tried to fight for his life. It tried to scream, but nobody can hear him because he did not have a voice and he couldn't save himself and he didn't make it. And it was from his own mother in her own womb. And that's where I saw my reality, and I said, wait, I didn't abort 3 sack of tissues. I aborted 3 of my own children.
Except for packing on a few more pounds in the last few weeks, baby's appearance and behavior are pretty much identical to what they'll be at birth. The only major stage.
I remember driving down the street and thinking, this feels wrong that I'm driving to a clinic to kill my baby. But because it was legal, I thought it had to be okay.
I stopped going to church feeling that I didn't belong. I went from being a bright and energetic student to just getting through high school and not going on to college. My drive for life was gone. And
between what I heard and what I saw, and what I kind of felt, it was just too much. And so I blacked back out after I kind of let out a little tiny scream. Like, it wasn't a full scream, it was just like the shock and the realization of whoa, this is what's happening right now. And then it was just too much and I blacked out. And next thing I know, I have a doctor or a nurse, I'm not sure, shaking me, trying to You know, like, the only thing I could think about was it was too late, you know? It was too late. Like, it didn't matter if I had changed my mind or said no, which I did, both of those things. It was too late. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I?
I terminated my son, and I will live with that the rest of my life. I do not know who he would have become or the great things he would have done. But I do know that the greatest thing he's done for me so far was to set me on the right path.
And having my child empowered me because it made me want to be a better person. It made me fight for something. And it just taught me so much about life because I chose to have him.
And he's 9 years old now?
He's 9 years old.
That's incredible.
Life for my son. I didn't leave feeling heaviness. I felt just joy is the biggest word that I can think of. It was the heartbeat that made me choose life, and
my biological mother was literally forced to abort me. A saline infusion was started for that abortion, and for those of you who aren't aware of what it involves injecting a toxic salt solution into the amniotic fluid surrounding that preborn child in the womb. And the intent of that toxic salt solution is to scald the child to death from the outside in. You can read about it in the medical journals or look at it online, and you can read how children like me are actually called the red-skinned or the candy-apple babies because that toxic salt solution turns the skin bright red as it peels it away and moves internally into the organs. My biological mother's abortion should have been completed within about 72 hours. The child soaks in that toxic salt solution, is scalded to death, and then premature labor is induced with the intention of delivering a deceased child. For some unknown reason, my biological mother's abortion took place over 5 days, 2 days longer than what it even should have. And so I soaked in that toxic salt solution. And you know what? I can't imagine what it was like, not only for me to fight for my life, but what it was like for my biological mother over those 5 days. You know, to know that she didn't want to have that abortion, that it was literally forced upon her, and that she probably felt me fighting for my life in the womb, because I've met other women who had the same type of abortion procedure and actually felt their children thrashing about in the womb before they ultimately lost their life. And that abortion was completed on my biological mother, thinking she was less than 5 months pregnant with me. But the fact that I was delivered on the 5th day of that procedure and was able to survive, and I weighed a little less than 3 pounds. I was 2 pounds, 14 ounces when I survived. Those things indicate that she was much further along in her pregnancy than what they had imagined. And that's true, because when I obtained my medical records in recent years that do detail the abortion that I survived, those medical records, one of the first notations by a doctor in them is that I looked like I was about 31 weeks gestational age when I survived. 31 weeks. So you can only imagine what my biological mother must have felt as I was being scalded to death in the womb. You're probably wondering the same thing everyone else does when I mention those little pieces already. A child being scalded to death, delivered prematurely, 31 weeks. And you're thinking, how does this happen? You know, as I shared, there is no medical reason that the doctors have been able to pinpoint that I survived because of it, or any of my friends who are abortion survivors. You know, I know of 160 survivors personally. You know, doctors have not ever looked upon our lives and said, oh, well, you know, this must be a plausible reason. There is no medical reason that people have been able to determine. I like to say I'm just a really blessed person. If you're the birth parent, if you're the adoptee, if you're the adoptive parent, I know that adoption is not an easy situation. But what I always like to point out to people is that adoption is the option that everyone can live with. Everyone. That woman, that man, that child, and that extended family. And I could live with the gift of adoption that was given to me.
When did you place your son for a child for adoption? She was in October this year. I was wanting to have an abortion when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. And out of choice, I was given the options. I could do abortion and not tell anyone, or I could move away from the home. I went to a maternity home, and in October I placed my daughter for adoption. And because of her, I'm not ashamed to have gotten pregnant at my age anymore.
God gave us free will, and although now I've changed my pitch and I don't believe in abortions, every child has the right to a life, and who am I to take that away? I don't care how the child came about. At the end of the day, it is a human being, and there are other methods. If you can't take care of the baby if you're too young, there's always adoption. There's wonderful couples out there that would love to adopt a child. They can't have their own. Tell someone immediately, get some help, do some research, figure out what it's going to take to raise a child. But if you decide to go the abortion route, just be prepared that it's not as easy as it might seem. It's not that you go there, you get a procedure done, you don't have a baby anymore, and that's it. No, you're gonna have some long-term effects.
From my mother's womb, you have chosen me.